Welcome back, guys, for another video. So this will be another update on the progress of the renovations that I'm doing. Well, mainly today's video will be about the sump tank, which you can see behind me. It's not completely done yet, but most of it I was able to finish this week. So that's what I'll be showing you today. Well, basically first through the video I'll be showing you kind of the process of doing it, some of the process. So I had to dig the hole, build a frame, and then stick the frame in there. And then I'll go over some other stuff. But that's pretty much what this video is going to be about. It was raining last night, and this is how much water is in there this morning, which is crazy. That's like a swimming pool. Not a swimming pool, that's a lot of water though. It's most likely because of this wall. It's right up against where the water passes down on that outside. You can see it did peel away there. So I finished digging the hole, which is pretty deep. It's actually hard to get in and out of. There's the hole. That pipe is going to go into that spot again. I actually have to get an extension for it. Luckily I have some extra pieces. There's that. So now I got to build a frame before it rains again and then this wall collapses anymore, since the water is coming through the channel on that side, or the water is coming off of the greenhouse top going down onto that side and going along there. So it basically collapsed that wall this morning. So luckily I was able to finish this thanks to my brother, who was able to help me move all this dirt. So basically I would be throwing the dirt from there to here, and then he was able to move a good amount of it out here. So now I don't know what I'm going to do with all this dirt. I'm going to probably have to spread it somewhere. Most of it's clay, so it's not even good for garden bed. Giant mess. It's over 4 feet deep, the hole. Or actually it might be just at 4 feet, I think. When I measured it last, it was like 50 inches, but I did compact it and put a little dirt in to make it flat. So it could be 4 feet exactly. Here you can see the box that I built / finished to put in the ground around the IBC tote. So I'll have to take it apart again though to move it to the spot. But it's got some framing in there. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. This is treated wood right here. This is just plywood I had lying around. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna surround the outside with a piece of pond liner to kind of, well, to protect it from the dirt and moisture so that this wood won't rot, basically. So the whole perimeter of this box is gonna be surrounded with a piece of pond liner. Also, I'm gonna try to wrap it at the bottom a little so that the bottom of it is protected from the bottom of the ground. But we'll see how that goes, because it is pretty heavy. So basically I'll carry all this wood over to the greenhouse, which you can't see right now. It's all the way over there. So out here you can see all the dirt and mud that I had to dig out of the greenhouse, or of the ground. It's actually it's more of a mud or a clay-like substance than actual dirt, so it's heavier. So here I have the tank, or the wood frame that I have in the ground right here. It is 49 inches by 58 inches by 54 inches deep, and this is where the tote will sit inside. I still have to go down there and level the ground some more, take a little bit of the dirt out, put a weed barrier underneath, and then I'll stick the tank and also insulate the sides. But that is generally how that is. It's made out of plywood, half-inch plywood and treated wood. I could have put more braces to make it stronger, but then that would have cost more to do that, since I'd have to buy more wood, and treated wood is not that cheap. And then on the outside I have a 5 by 18 foot piece of liner all the way around, which is acting like a vapor barrier just to protect the actual plywood from the water and stuff like that, so that it can last longer. And then over there I have my hole. I'll just have to extend that pipe. That is where I put a sump pump down to drain out the water. So the issue that I have with this area is that it's the lowest point, and I live on a hill, so all the water comes down into this area and then it builds up around there. So that then it will on the previous sump tank I had, it basically pushed up the bottom of the sump dump and the sides, and kind of like would deform it at times. So I'd have to suck out the water with a pump from over there, which was kind of a nuisance because I had to dig that hole all of a sudden just one time. It would have been easier just to stick a liner in here, only a liner. That way I wouldn't have to build a frame and all that kind of stuff. But the issue with that is that the sump tank is not filled with water all the time. So many times it's down quite low, so that would allow the dirt to kind of push in from the sides and cause it to collapse, which is not good. I also could have put the IBC tote in here just by itself, which I had before. The issue with that is, though, if there's a leak or something on it, it's going to be hard to get out. I'll have to dig it out again just to remove it. Also, luckily last time I also had a piece of liner surrounding the IBC tote, which allowed dirt not to, say, push on the sides of the tote, because the plastic the totes are made out of is fairly flexible, or it's not the strongest, so pressure does warp it or cause it to warp while it's in the hole. So this should be beneficial for that. It would have been easier just to get like a, say, a poly tank, but which is made out of a stronger plastic. But the issue with that is that the round, so there I'd have to get a pretty big one to get the same gallons as you can get from an IBC tote. Because that's the nice thing about the IBC totes, is that they're square or rectangle, and that way you save space instead of having a round tub in that same area. I'd have to have it, say, wider. The diameter of that tub would have to be wider. But that's pretty much what I did this week. I also put on some fans. So I have that fan there, that one there, which is running, and then this guy right here. I'll still have 3 more to put up. The only issue that I don't like about these fans is that I can't rotate them. So once I have them in a set direction, they'll stay like that. I can tilt them up and down, but other than that, that's the position they're going to be in. It would have been nice to be able to rotate them, but then they can always get it to the right position later on after you stick it up. Or say if I need to rotate it to blow somewhere else, then it would work as well. That's about that. That's pretty much all for this video. It is fairly simple. I would have liked to have put the tote in already, but I actually finished this at like 2 a.m. last night with my brother, since I wanted to stick it in here before it rains again. It said it was going to rain last night. Because then if it rains, then the wall can collapse on that side and on that side, is what it did before. So to be exact on the dimensions, you got 49 inches from that end of the wall to this end of the wall. The piece in there is actually 48 inches, since this guy overlaps at the end, which you can see there. So the actual piece is 48 inches, but the overall length that way is 49 inches. The height of everywhere is 54 inches. That will give me about an inch above the sump tank, above the IBC tote, since the IBC tote is 53 inches. This overall length is 58 inches from the end of the plywood to the end of the plywood, and 54 inches high as well. And then the wood is just treated wood, or the treated 2x4s in there. So fairly simple design. And then the corners just look like so. So when I put it in the box, I basically screwed this piece into this one, which made it easy to do. So when I built the frame on the outside, I had all these connected out there and this exactly on there, so that it made it easy to put it together while it was in here, instead of trying to level the corners or get the corners exact. So all I had to do is push basically this board against, well, basically I had to push this board against this piece of wood and this piece of wood against that piece of wood, and then it was good. So that took some good amount of work. And then also I have the liner coming up underneath, like you can see it like that, just to protect the wood from moisture from coming up underneath there. The issue though I have to do relatively soon is get an actual sump pump that has a float on it, because water will fill up in here when it rains. So if I have a float on a sump pump, that will prevent the water from filling up in here and allow it to fill up in there, since that area is deeper than in here, a good 6 inches or so, something like that. This is the liner that I was going to use to put around that box I made, but it was going to be too small. This is actually the previous piece that I had surrounding the other IBC tote, so it basically surrounded it like a whole box, and at the bottom as well, which prevented the dirt from getting into all these areas and pushing against here. So it provided some support there, which is another way you can do it, which would have been simple, is I just surround this with a piece of liner and then stick it in there instead of building the frame. But that was the piece. If I used this, it would have saved me money since I got it for free, but unfortunately it wasn't gonna be big enough. So a little issue I noticed is that the wood started to bow inwards because of the pressure of the dirt. So I didn't take that into account. So what you want to do is actually put more supports, which I am going to be doing, but putting more bracing like this way, so that the dirt cannot push the plywood this way that much. So I didn't take that into account originally. I thought it'd be fine for me just to have like that, since that was simple to do. But what I'll be doing is just using scrap wood and putting more supports going along all this stuff. These two pieces of 2x4s right now are just to push the walls out, so I can get it to the right dimensions. The IBC tote will still fit in, since I did add an extra inch gap in between the wood so that I can fit the IBC tote, just to be safe. But just to make this thing square and that there's no more pressure or no more bowing going on later on, just make sure to stick some braces all the way around. But as I said, I'll definitely be sticking a good amount more. Well, that pretty much sums up this video. It's fairly simple, just a matter of time and doing things. I'm almost done with this part, so now what I'll have to do, hopefully finish in the next week, is to move this row bed behind me into that direction. So I'll have to level that area. I'll have to insulate the tank in there, either with styrofoam or with some spray-on insulation, something like that, and then stick the tote in there. I also have to wash the tote, which shouldn't be too hard since it had vinegar in it. I mean, not vinegar, wine. Versus like those guys took some time to watch because they had coconut oil in there, and the oil is just harder to get out. I also have to connect the pump, which is going to have to go up until there. I'll probably just connect it in one way now, and then later on try to hook up a Venturi in that same area or that same system. That way I can have some more aeration in those tanks without having to have all the air stones, which I will still put in there, because the more circulation in there, you can get rid of the fish waste in there. Plus it just gives them, the more aeration you have in there, the larger the quantity of fish you can have in the tank, which we'll see when I get to doing all that kind of stuff. But other than that, that's all for this video. I appreciate all the support, and thank you for watching.